Hi, everyone. Welcome back to PAO Fans International podcast. We got myself, Alex, and Adoni today. Sorry, Alki today. No Adoni. So I'll be running point today for you guys. Alki, how you doing?
Doing all right. Been better, all things considered, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've been on. I was in Greece. I had the opportunity to go to a couple games. I went to Shakhtar and I went to the opener against Olympiacos. Unfortunately, I did not see a win, which is kind of what we're going to get into at some point because there's been a
Yeah.
lack of wins recently. But yeah, it was nice. It was nice still to be there. Alki, you were there earlier in the summer, right?
Yeah, I was there, I think like a month or two before you. I'm drawing a
Yeah.
blank. Life's just been crazy. But yeah, I was there, yeah, just before preseason started.
Yeah. So you didn't get a chance to go to any of the games, yeah?
No, we just
Yeah.
missed it, I think. Yeah, I think the day we left, like the week after, that's when like preseason games were going on and stuff. So
Yeah, so now we're just fully in the thick of it. We have had obviously the European qualification. We've had a couple of games in the league. Yesterday, Sunday, we had Kifisia away. It ended 3-2. And it was actually in Volos because Kifisia has a issue with their stadium, so they don't have a home stadium right now. And there was a little bit of drama heading into this one. They couple weeks ago, they had asked to use Oaxaca for their home games. Obviously, they had to kind of get permission from us. The management did not grant them permission. There's kind of, I'm going to call it a rumor because, there's no, you know, true source that's saying it, but the heavy rumor, which is, basically true, is that Alafuso is really um, not on good terms with Kifisia because they've hired a lot of ex-Panathinaikos players, legends, coaching staff, yada yada yada. They have at least a handful plus of our guys in there. Notably, Leto's their coach. Basinas Sotiris Kyriakos is in there. Ruben Perez, Villafañez. The list goes on. It's at least five, six, seven guys. So yeah, Salafuz is a little butthurt because it kind of makes him look bad, right? He doesn't hire the legends to work for the team that they're supposed to work for, so other teams have to hire them. So petty move. He doesn't let them use Oaxaca. They don't have a home. Um, they end up in Volos. We go to Volos, more drama, right? They are ready to give us 9,000 tickets. So we've always seen Volos as a good away ground, especially even when Volos is the one using the stadium. But even now with Kifisia, they're ready to give us 9,000 tickets. We decline in the most Greek thing ever. We decline 9,000 tickets. It would have made it a home match, right? And instead we take, there was
500.
varying reports, 650, 500. It wasn't even that
Like
many
a
people
very like
there.
a third, not even I can't even do math, but like a
Yeah.
significant drop off.
Yeah. And the showing obviously was not even that many. And again, that decision, again, I'm going to call it a rumor, but it's more than that. Basically, just Alafuso's petty again. Doesn't want to give them money because you buy the 9,000 tickets, you give them money, and he doesn't want to do them any favors because of this, call it beef that's going on now because it all roots back to what we just said about them hiring our guys and him not doing it. So, yeah, there was drama leading up to it. In the end, we played in mostly empty Pantesaliko and Volos, and we lost 3-2. So the scoring was opened uh, by Tete, um, who slipped past in the sixth, seventh minute. He slipped past our left side of defense, and he slotted it right to the right of Dragowski. This was actually 2 minutes after Kifisia had another very good opportunity to open the score very early in the fourth or fifth minute. So they were threatening often and early. We equalized in the 15th minute with Swiderski. That was off a penalty that was rightfully given. There was a clip on Jurisic, who went down, VAR reviewed it, gave it. Swiderski slots it to the left of the keeper, who guessed wrong. It was looking better there. At least we had gotten the equalizer quickly, and we didn't kind of fall into you know, bad habits. But yeah, it kept going well because then after the half, Swiderski doubled the lead and doubled his tally, 2-1 in quite a meme goal. The keeper, there was a cross from the left side of the attack, probably from Giannakopoulos, if I had to guess. Keeper kind of mishandles it, and it falls literally into Swiderski's legs. He didn't even react, honestly. It just literally hit into his legs, and it ricocheted into the empty net. You won't see a more of a meme goal, really, or an easier goal. And it was looking like it was smooth sailing from there. We had another opportunity. I think probably the best opportunity to make it 3-1 was off a set piece in like the 65th minute or so, when what's his name, Renato Sanchez, kind of nicked the ball or didn't even hit it as well, but it was kind of point blank. If he had gotten any solid touch on it, he was at like the small box, and it would have beaten the keeper. But he didn't put that away, and then shortly after they equalized 2-2. Um, that was Tete to Padelidis. Tete completely schooled um on our right side of defense. He beat Palmer Brown, who put a really bad challenge in. He kind of lunged at Tete instead of actually putting a challenge in. That was at the touch line. Tete beats him. Then Chirivella comes back to cover as last man. Tete's doing dribbles left, right, left, right. Chirivella's head is in a spin cycle. And then very calmly, Tete could have taken it himself, but he slots it to the man across the goal at the far post, who first times it into the net, 2-2. And our fate was sealed with Souza in stoppage time, who after a ricochet off of Dragowski, hit it into the top netting basically. And it was a disaster because we now have 1 point out of 2 matches, so 1 point out of a possible six. And there was some aftermath afterwards, but we'll get there in a second. Alki, let's talk about the game first. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know where to begin. I mean, we're talking about it. I just, it was just a poor match overall. I mean, there were very few and low bright spots. Even though things looked like smooth sailing, it wasn't even a convincing game when we went up 2-1. I'd say Swiderski was probably, I can say, the only one that looked like a bright spot, even though we didn't have as many opportunities. There were even times where, he's beating his man down near the box, getting some, good spaces and getting the ball in the box. Um, but outside of that, I mean, Mancini had loads of opportunities, but also was loads offsides.
He's still offsides.
Um, yeah. So, I mean, there's that. The one saving grace that, you guys have all been saying, and I've even kind of defended in a sense, is our defense has looked solid this season. But, I mean, really, Tete was just destroying us, I think, from the start to finish of the game. Really, he was just a problem. And, Palmer Brown and Tuba didn't look terrible, but when they did make those mistakes, it cost us. And I think just, yeah, overall from all fronts, it was not not a great showing at all. And just adds to our tally of just how the season is starting, very similar to last season. Just I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the score line, and no context, it seems like it was a very opposite of what has been happening so far this season. Defense fell apart, which has been very solid. And based on the score line, you think the offense came alive. In reality, that's not the case, because the two goals that we got were not, you wouldn't say that our offense came alive, right? One was a complete gift, and the other was a penalty. So yeah, you scored two, which, we've talked a lot about how, it's been difficult for us to find goals early in the season, a lot of nil-nils, a lot of 1-nils. But you can't even say that that was actually fixed in this game despite the two goals, because those goals did not inspire any kind of confidence or uh, you know, validation to something changing from the habits. And then on top of that, our defense did fall apart. I think, Palmer Brown wasn't horrible, but he had definitely one of his worst games this season, if not the worst, which, is a little unfair to him because he's been put on quite a high pedestal in the early going this year. But, again, that challenge on Tete, um, for that second goal, that equalizer, it was really half-hearted. You could tell like he wasn't playing the ball. He was just trying to take him out, which listen, sometimes it is the professional foul, but he wasn't in such a bad position where he could have fouled with the attempt to get the ball. It didn't have to be like I'm just gonna kind
It
of
didn't have to be
body
like
you, which
a tactical type of foul and
right,
just
right,
kind
right.
of stop the play, and it didn't do either. So
Even the first goal, that wasn't Palmer Brown because that was on the left side of our defense with Kyriakopoulos and Tuba there. But the placement of the pass was kind of fortunate. Tete found himself in between those two, but even the challenges that I think it was Kyriakopoulos who put in the first challenge to try to stop him at the top of the box. It wasn't the best. Anyway, all I'm saying, all in all, the defense was a lot more suspect than it has been this year, which against the lower side is kind of I don't know what to say, unfortunate and
it's kind of concerning. I mean, but it's,
yeah,
beating a dead horse at this point. I mean, the other thing, like I'm just kind of quickly looking at stats, like our XG was 2.2, but, whenever you get a penalty, I think penalties count for
that's
like
almost
what,
1.9
zero
or
point 0.9 or something.
0.95.
So really, we're looking at a little over one XG, and that kind of really will explain the game if you watch it. The other thing I mentioned was like, there were certain times in the game where you saw Renato Sanchez just like, kind of like putting his arms up. His body language is kind of just like you could tell he was frustrated out there, kind of snapping, like, he wanted to pick up the pace play. We're trying to play out the back, and, against the Kifisia lower side team that, most of these lower teams will play a low block and hit on the counter. Like, I can understand his frustration, and, we were walking the ball up, and this was minute 35, 40 when I was noticing it. It's like, stuff like that is just, I look at it as kind of just unacceptable, but it just kind of brings everything full circle where you just kind of see like the culture, identity, the game plan, just like not everyone's on the same page. It's just kind of everything's just kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And it showed on the field. I mean, and end result was a loss, but then the aftermath of it all, like we said, I don't know if there's much more to really harp on or talk about the game from my side. I don't know if you had anything else to add, but yeah, I mean, it kind
Mm,
of
mm,
snowballed into just, where we're at now.
yeah. I mean, I we could spend more time talking about the game, but I don't think it's really necessary because yeah, the elephant in the room is that Rui Vitoria was sacked following the game. Um, yeah, he was sacked, and now we're kind of back in this vicious cycle that we find ourselves in year after year. That not only do we need a new coach, but now we don't have stability. We kind of, it can't be considered a complete waste of a summer, but to a certain extent, it is a somewhat waste of a summer because you had this coaching stability that kind of we've been yearning for and we didn't have last year, right? Last summer we were looking for the coach. Alonso came in, new ideas, new stuff, whether, of course we know what happened there, but even if, it doesn't go south, it's still a new changing the guard and a new ideology and just a new. And we didn't have that this summer, which is a positive because you keep consistency, you keep stability, um, and
But
now that's
I
just kind of all
guess,
thrown out.
and totally agree. My one question is, though, I'll ask you this, Alex, is do you even really consider it a full summer? Because, like we say every year, like timing with Panathinaikos is everything, and it's always been the worst. And I say that in a sense of, yeah, Rui did get a full summer in the sense of training camp and everything, but then when he's asking her, we have these positions we need and they need players, they brought him in. Some of them came what, like a week before our first game. Some of them came in between the first few games. Europe was on the line. The stuff in the air about Foti. You know, we've gone through outs and ins, what, like 5 or 6 guys in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it's
Yeah. I mean, I get the question. Like at the end of the day, it's as full of a summer as it's ever going to be, right? Like
right.
unless we, it's also unrealistic to ask that we get everything done by end of June, mid
Well,
July.
I don't think that. I'm just saying, in a sense of like, Forty left
Right.
after the last game and it wasn't a great showing. Then you bring in I'm gonna ball is it Dessers Dressers?
Essers, yeah.
Renato just finally got into match fitness. We just got the Serbian guy, and these are all key positions that, like replacing Foti in a week. Like, not that he was our biggest goal contributor, but, going play through him like he was a focal attention on our offense and replacing that and expecting results. Like, I get it. Rui should be sacked, I think, or shouldn't be around. But at the same time, in an alternate world, I also said it. I would have given him 2 or 3 games to really see if he can get everyone on
Yeah.
the same page with essentially a third of a new roster since the start of the season, and he's not going to get
100%.
that. But at the same time, the way it started, I don't think we have the time to afford that either. And we're just, like you said, back to the whole, not even just us, but just the revolving door that goes around the league in Greece of just coaching staff being recycled, left and right.
We could say a lot of things about we could say a lot of things about a lot of things, but at the end of the
Right.
day, Rui, we showed good signs with Rui. There's been bright spots with Rui. There's always been low spots. The facts are that what I think has it been one win in 8 games this season? Is that our record this season? So just because of that, he does need to take some blame. You can't, you
100%.
can't have one win in 8 games and be completely void of blame. There's the attacking problems have been noted, and although, we don't have perhaps the most prolific strikers, there have been problems with different personnel, which kind of points to a little bit of a systemic tactical problem. Like you put Foti in on not not effective. You put Swiderski in, not effective. Okay, a third guy did not really get tested under Rui. I can't count Yeremayev. He didn't get significant minutes, but you use your first and second choice striker throughout qualifying, multiple games, sample size increases, attacking woes continue. Do you blame both strikers, or is there another blame? Is it a tactical thing? Is it a
And
style of play thing?
you look at wing play. If you look at the roster on paper before and after, even like the output theoretically based on Swiderski's had a good career being a solid striker and just giving you what you need. Fotti's been up and down, but we've got wing play with Pelistri, Tete, Mancini. No matter how much we harp on him, like he's been a key contributor in very key moments and stuff. Like we've got all the pieces, but Alonso and Rui haven't shown that they can get it to work. And I think like you said, ultimately that's a problem. One win in 8 games is just unexplainable.
I think the bigger problem is kind of the timing, and you kind of alluded to this. Is this the right time to sack him? Is it premature? Uh, just to compare, Alonso, who I mean, arguably was a lot worse, got a month and a half more than Rui. Alonso was sacked October 29, 2024. The day today, yesterday, was September 14. So he got an extra month and a half if we're going to do a like for like comparison. Okay, there's other differences. Like Alonso started later on, right? Rui started with a team earlier. He's from last season, while Alonso started during the summer. So their start point was not the same, but
Same results though,
Alon
right?
same results,
We were in the
right?
same exact spot at the same time last year, I think, after the first 3 games last season.
Right. So if you compare it to that, it does seem a little premature. There's some positives to sacking Rui now. For example, the European season hasn't started, so um, as opposed to Alonso, who put us in a huge hole in Europe, and we had to literally scrape to get out of the league phase. If Rui was really, again, all hypothetical, if Rui was really this big of a problem, at least we cut the bleeding, stop the bleeding before the league phase even starts, and we don't do more damage there to put us in a difficult position because we don't have any room to slip up in this league phase in Europa League with the kind of opponents that we're going to face. We need to be, as perfect as we could be. So there are some positives to the timing, but if you compare it like for like, you could have to at least raise an eyebrow because why did that guy get an extra month and a half, but this guy is sacked right now?
Well, and the other thing is, yeah, I mean, he did get the extra month and a half, and I think majority consensus of the fan base was a little annoyed about that because I think we all said it last season, and I think we saw lots of fans just everywhere saying, Alonso kind of overstayed and was given a little too much time. So, in a sense, like, yeah, when we compare it, Rui's not going to get enough time, but comparing at the same time, we all wanted Alonso gone sooner than he was, and so that's what they're doing with Rui. But you know, timing, like we say, is everything. Whether it's timing of sacking or timing of when we get certain players in, certain players out, just it's a real. This is a real big turning point for I think Panathinaikos just in general for this season and just kind of going forward, really.
And another weird part about the timing, which again is something that I think you alluded to, is by sacking him right now and not giving him, let's say, another week, right? If you give him another week, that's two more games, which is pretty big. Okay, then it would be Europa League because we start Europa League in a week. But just for the sake of the argument, say you give him another week, that's two more games. You give him 2 weeks, that's another three, four total games, right? We're at a spot right now where he hasn't even been given a chance to implement the new tools that he's been given, right? Like you said before, we just got a replacement for Foti, second and third, first choice and second choice striker, basically, Dessers and Padovic. He hasn't had a chance. They both came off the bench against Kifisia, but he hasn't really had a chance to implement them for a team that struggled scoring. He gets these new tools and he doesn't even get a chance to implement them. Renato Sanchez, okay, he's been in the team a little longer, but he only started his first game against Kifisia at the weekend. So you could argue there he hasn't been given a chance to implement that tool either to its fullest potential. Who that was must have been a hand pick from Rui. He's worked with
I was
him
gonna say Rui is a big
before,
reason why Renato came to us.
right? He's
That
worked
whole
with him at
signing was a
Benfica,
circus.
right?
And like
Eh,
you mentioned, we have a game what in 2 days,
Yeah,
and then Olympiacos on the weekend. Like now they're, and that's what I'm saying. The timing is terrible because now they're going to bring in either an interim or they're going to bring somebody quick, and we lose. Oh, they didn't have enough time. It's okay to lose. Whereas you let Rui lose, it's on him. But it's like I don't know. Part of me thinks, the timing of it is just so that way they can kind of save face and point. It was the coach's fault. So if we lose these new next two games under interim, oh well, he just came in. It can't be his fault. Whereas if Rui stayed, he just digs us in a bigger hole. So it's like pick the lesser of the two evils at this point, is what we're looking at.
it's really frustrating, and I think we all obviously feel the same way. The timing is frustrating. The decision making is frustrating. The repetition of history is frustrating. Year after year, we've all talked about kind of what this team lacks and needs, and it's this coaching stability, which we haven't had since Jova. And Jova, before Jova, we hadn't had in a while too. Jova was the first coach in who knows how long. His tenure was 2.5 years. In general, in Greece, that's almost unheard of. So even for us, based on our one coach per year or more ratio, that was a godsend, regardless. And we've said this before, but regardless of winning trophies and winning titles and this and that, that coaching stability was very priceless. And we're still missing that since that day, December 23rd, 2023 now, right? Um,
I mean, but even look at like Tarim came in. The culture was kind of reignited, got gritty wins, whatever. Like there's some form of unity going there, and then something happened toward the end, and it all fell apart. And then the drama. came out, and just like dramas unraveling from this. And so, uh, even just not even tenure, I think a big reason a lot of this is just disappointing is not trying to take any blame away from Rui. I mean, one win in 8 games is just there's no way to cut that. That's on the coach ultimately. Whether he gets pieces or not, he still had the same team from last season. Um, but you're gonna need to bring somebody in to just bring in some kind of identity and culture. And giving Rui more time might have helped, might have dug us a bigger hole. I don't know. Looking at it just from afar, I don't know if Rui was going to be the right guy to drive us into that direction, just because he seems like just a classy guy, doesn't seem like a guy that's going to kind of fight back against, upper management, ownership, well-spoken guy. He's just going to put his hands up, yeah, it's on me, and bounce and take it with his chin up. And the guys that brought culture to Reem and Yova, for example, that got us some results, they kind of were a little more outspoken and tried to actually build something, and kind of pushed back a little bit on everything from directors to ownership to everything.
Well,
Um,
we find ourselves in a time where um, people who are closer to the team, and what I mean closer to the team, involved in the team, closer than we are kind of speaking out. They're not naming people, obviously, because that's kind of a bad idea, but there's been some cases where people are saying stuff. Most notably, recently, Juankar, Ruben Perez, who obviously we played against, and most recently Schenkenfeld. So I'm going to read a couple of quotes to just fill people in. There was a comment from Perez, sorry, from Juankar, under the "Thank you Rui Vittoria" post from the on the team's Instagram page. Perez said, just a guilty who destroyed everything we had built just to win money. Big love for my green people. Again, no names are being said, but um, you could fill in the blanks who's being alluded to. Obviously, management. Papadimitriou is a huge culprit. Alafouzos himself is a huge culprit. Those are the main guys. We have
should be those
uh,
leaked messages. I think there were some DMs or somebody sent
yeah.
to Huancar, and he wrote back. Didn't name drop, but
DMs from Schenkenfeld. There's a lot, but I'm not a person who speaks. The truth will always come to the surface. With me, for example, they tried everything to make me look bad. The people who want to create a new team after Ivan because they knew the fans loved me. I know in the long run the truth will be served to everyone. Tareem, very similarly, when he left, said very similar words.
the truth will come
The
out
truth will come
when
out.
this ends. But
Ruben, when the drama was going on with him and he was pushed out of the team, he did not call out names, but very similar words too from Ruben. Um, it's
Vaganides, as of recently, was going to be
Froze
pushed
out of the
out
team,
for
right?
his because of his contract, and he was like, "I'm just going to leave on a free. I don't care."
And on top of that, the latest news, which has been floating around, is that I think this is not a call out. We haven't, I don't think, heard anything from Rui himself, but he left without saying anything to anyone, without any goodbyes, nothing. So, at the bare minimum, that shows, very poor culture within the club, but it also shows the relationship of towards the people who are making decisions, right? Um, yeah, the decision making is a huge problem. We've known this for a while. This is nothing new, but it's time and time again where the decisions are bad, the way they're handled is bad. Um, and the culprits are really just two guys, and it's not just us saying it. People who, like, this is why we bring up these comments, because people who are closer to the club, more involved, actually like are touched by these decisions, and these people uh are calling it out. Like, this is not smoke. There's substance here.
Yeah, there's a lot, and like we talked about it in our chat, leading up to this, and Bart said it perfect. Like everything that had kind of momentum and built up, since the first cup win with Aitor winning it for us being that's that year, that season kind of built up all this progression. The firing of Yovo was kind of a big culture shock, I think, is a good way to put it, because it was a shock to the fans, but it also was a shock to the culture within the club. And then it slowly just started derailing from turning down. And it's like everything you built up has literally put us back to where we were right before Yova. It
Yeah.
seems like, at least, or at least that's the direction it seems like it's trending. We mentioned this, and yeah, we finished second last year, but I wouldn't even consider last season a real success because we had to just climb back up from what was brought down. And that's the frustrating thing, is like you can see what can be accomplished, but that was only accomplished because we brought ourselves down so far that the team willed it back up to second. Imagine if they actually just stuck with it or had a good, surrounding cast. And I don't mean from a player standpoint, I'm just talking, above the coach. Things can be done, and it seems like every time we build it up, we take 10 steps back.
All of this that we're talking about there's a clear lack of respect towards the fans, but also towards the people working at the club. So I don't understand how there's any sort of, and this is going to sound grim, but like how there's any way forward. And of course there is a way forward because we're still going to follow the club. We're still going to, support, but really everything that's being done is against that. It's against our continued support. It's against you know, our time and effort because they're these moves and the way they're done, it's just a complete lack of respect towards the fans and the personnel at the club who both deserve better. And it's just time and time again, like that continuous repetition. There's no indication of learning from your mistakes because everyone's allowed to make mistakes, but there's no indication of learning from your mistakes. Um, Unfortunately, and we spoke about this a little before today, we find ourselves in a position where one person has too much power, right? Alafouzos is not a soccer football minded person. We've said that for a while, especially in the 2010s. There was calls for a long time that he appoint someone who is a soccer football minded person. That ended up being Papadimitriou. Um, but really, the problem is that now there's too much power in one person's hands. Really, what instead of calling or appointing a one TD. We need a board because now we see a huge disconnect between this one person and the decisions that are being made at the club. And I don't mean just like sacking and stuff like that, but also the signings, right? Because we've talked
Oh, there's
about.
so much out there about, coach wants player A, Papadimitriou says, no, I'm going to hand pick myself.
So let me just interrupt you there because this is relevant to what you're saying. A report from Ojogo, a Portuguese outlet, came out that reads Cyril Desser's Ruiz. By the way, this is from Rui's home country, of course. Cyril Desser's Rui's third choice striker was hired for the attack. According to Ojogo, the coach's priority was to sign Taremi, who left for rival Olympiacos, or alternatively Banta. On the other hand, three of the players who arrived at the club, Zaruri, Padovic, Taborda, were not the coach's choices. This is not new, right? We've seen
No,
we've
this has happened with
speculated,
every
yeah,
coach.
we've speculated in the past that there's been this huge disconnect in who's calling the shots on signings, which signing is who's signing, because there seems to be also a mix and match. Like obviously, we said Renato Sanchez has to be a Rui signing. Others, clearly, according to this report and speculation that we've had, are not. Alonso, same thing. Polistri was obviously Alonso signing, but other guys, Papadimitriou
And
most likely.
and the ones that the coaches want are always the deals that take the longest to get across the finish line. And then the ones that do happen just kind of come out of nowhere, come out of thin air. I mean, we know the Greek league and the top four big teams, or at least I'd say the top four. There's always rumors. It's like you follow the NBA now recently. It's like every during trade deadline, like there's always the photoshops and rumors of who's gonna go where. That happens all the time. But then you see what the coach wants, and then out of nowhere tomorrow we just have this guy that we were never linked with or had any reports of it, and now he's a new player.
Yep.
Um, and it's just so bizarre. And like you said, the power shift here is what's caused a lot of this. And at first, it's always been like, oh, it's Greek media and stuff. It's all speculation, but we're going on what 4, 5, 6 seasons now where speculation has now looked like it's really just become facts, especially if media from outside of just Greece is saying this, like you just
Right.
mentioned. Like, we saw it with Alonso from other, news outlets down in South America. We're seeing it from Portuguese papers now. And it's at what point, something's got to give. Like you said, it can be done. It's going to take a lot to make that shift in progress. And it's hard. Like you said, it sounds grim, but it's grim because it's hard to think of the moving forward is going to take so much that it's just not likely that that's the outcome that's going to happen. Um,
It's also grim because like does it even matter? Like we've been talking in the past 24 hours like who's going to be the successor and coach, but does it even matter because you keep the other pieces, the really harmful pieces there. So it like Rui didn't matter, Alonso didn't matter, Tareem didn't matter, all these guys post Yova didn't matter because the other harmful pieces that are potentially calling the shots or even at times seemingly trying to sabotage for their own benefit, because Papadimitriou, without knowing the guy, he's outlasted all of them, all of them. And how do you outlast all of them when a lot of them are his appointments? Alonso was his appointment. So why is there no repercussions for him when he's making obvious mistakes? Well, the problem is that, like we said, he has too much power. He's the one whispering in Alafudo's ear, as far as we know. One person having so much power and so much control, who at the end of the day is also just trying to keep his job, is harmful to the club for
yep.
obvious reasons that we've already stated. So back to the original point, how much does it matter who's next when
And
that
you and
harmful?
you divide the fan base, and the fan base has been divided for I'd say what 2 or 3 seasons, but since last season it's been hard divided, it seems like. And like you said, it's whispering in his ear. I don't, you look at it, Alafuzo's really even said and has said, like, he came in, to help see if he can help get the club out of debt. And like, it seems like since then, he kind of really hasn't cared. And he's just, when he can get out, he will, but he just doesn't want to let go because of, there's a rumors of the TV rights and the Turkish deals, and then there's Papadimitriou. You've given him too much power, and the left doesn't know from the right what's going on. And then it's like, oh, you want to bring in a guy like a Mourinho type guy, so they brought in Tarim, who had that kind of history and aura, and he's Turkish, so maybe he'll do some stuff. And even they had a falling out, and he still lost the battle, and it seemed like guys like him wouldn't be the type that would. So it's like you said, does it matter? Because you can bring in the guys where you're like, you need something that's gonna be headstrong, fight the board, fight Papa Dimitri. You bring them
Yeah,
in,
but
and they
that's exactly
still
what they don't
lose.
want. But that's exactly what they don't want. They don't want to bring in a headstrong a guy who's going to give pushback because that then lessens their power, right? You bring in
Yep.
someone who's going to speak up, who's going to give his opinions, who's going to set shit straight. But that's not the closest thing we had was
It's
Tareem.
tearing. So it's
And you
like,
know, you know, you know who was a pushover? The pushover was Alonso, and that's why he stayed so long because he was controllable. He was a pushover. They wanted him around because of all these things that we're saying. He wasn't going to challenge them, but at some point they had to let him go because he was losing left and right. But if he had won one game here, he would have kept his job because he was just controllable.
yeah, and look at what's happened since then. Because look, Alafuso said you wanted to bring the club out of debt. We said all that, but even during cup winning seasons, if you guys win this next game or progress, like everyone gets a bonus. If you show up and don't play, we played like shit. He took away one of those bonuses. We heard it in the news. That was what, 3 seasons ago? We haven't heard anything about Alafouzos and his involvement in the team ever since. And it starts to make you think like, has he checked out? Just not care? Like, did he ride that honeymoon or that high, but he went back to normalcy of like, I did what I came here to do. And right now it's just as long as we stay even, stay relevant in some capacity, that's all that matters. Let Papadimitriou take care of it. That's why I hired him for. He's got all the power. You deal with it. he's just cutting checks at this point. I mean, that's what it's seeming like from my end. Obviously, there's more to it, but we're just talking here, and it's just like that's the state the club's in right now. We all have
Yeah,
this idea, and nobody's idea is like in a positive way of like,
yeah,
how do you see through this? How do you get
yeah.
out of this? And it's just sad.
It's sad and it just feels really bad because I think I speak for all of us. We feel helpless and even not trying to be pessimistic, like I'm trying to pick out the positive. Like, you sat like take a normal club, take a fucking normal club. Like you sack someone and the positive is like, hey, at least I stopped the bleeding. But like, where's the positive here because of what we're saying? Because it's time and time again the same thing. Like, did we stop the bleeding or did we just, like you said, put ourselves back 2, 3, 4, 5 years before Yova, the like back into the dark ages that we are in? What's the positive out of this? Like I'm trying to see a positive out of this, based on how we're repeating our fuck ups, it's impossible to find a positive.
No, and then there's always the drama around going back and forth of the culture thing. Like even the smallest things is, are we going to play at Awaka or are we going to play at Leofoto for certain
Yeah,
games?
yeah. Now
Then
now
there's
we're back to low photos allegedly
Yeah,
for the European
then now
matches.
there's news, oh, we're going to get our new stadium, which has been going on for what, 10, 15 years. But when the club is shit, who's going to pay for that new stadium to watch a shit team that might not even be around by the time a new stadium even gets built, if it does? There's just, like I said, everything's in so many different directions. It's sad, just from not even just because it's our club and stuff, but being one of the bigger clubs of Greece and one of the older clubs of Greece. We've seen what's happened, unfortunately, to some of the oldest club in Greece just go into non-existence, and you start to think we're heading in that direction. We're
Yeah,
closer to that side of things than heading towards staying relevant in the top three. Because a lot of people disagreed, but I don't see Panathinaikos as of right now finishing inside of the top four right now, just because the way the direction things have gone and the direction that other teams are operating. Even Falk and Ike have always been kind of the random. They'll win one here, there every 10 years, but you know, just from an outside perspective, this summer, both of them were very aggressive. Balk, we've talked about their academy, how great it's been. Like, they're trying to change and improve, and we're still trying to figure out who's ass to wipe at this point. And
yeah,
and just there's no direction for us right now, and that's the sad part. We've got all these
yeah,
players, foreigners, some of them big names, Dessers, Renato Sanchez, Pelistri. We've got big names on paper, but we've got nothing to show for it.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
sad, man.
It is really sad. It is really sad, and you brought up a lot of good points about the direction of the club, and we're closer to this rather than that.
Like, do you even know? I haven't even looked. Do you even know? Let's go through. Do you have any names that you've seen floating around of who they might bring in as an interim or possibly the next head coach if they'd make a decision this week?
I mean, right before we got on, it seemed like Cody was going to be the
Caretaker.
caretaker. I mean, for the immediate future, it seems like we have the U19 coach stepping up, right? Or at least we there was a report that we trained with the U19s. I think we have a game in 2 days, so I think it was the U19 coach who was going to take over. His name is escaping me right now, but right before we got on, Cody's name popped up. I mean, the
Gomis is probably going to
Portugal.
come up as always as a wish. I don't know if there's actual any substance to it.
Again, it's really hard for me to talk about even potentials because I just can't get past does it matter? Like, does it matter? And
Where we're at, basically.
yeah, I I don't know what else to say. Like, yeah, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I
Isn't
mean,
that crazy though? We're fans from the U.S. sitting here like we don't know what to say about the club at this point,
this is
and
the
we're
only this is
we're
the only
we're
team I
outsiders.
support. Like, this consumes me, and I'm still like, I want to think about it. I want to like talk about like who it's gonna be, this and that. I want to because this is for this sport. This is all I have. But I-
We've got nothing,
that
dude.
that's half of me, and the other half is like, why? Like, if this guy's gonna be gone in a year,
Who cares?
This is I go back to what we said before. You're at such an impasse. You bring in a headstrong, they don't want a headstrong. You bring in a pushover, it's just gonna be what the harmful people want. There's no winning. It's a lose-lose, right? That's the thing. Until the harmful people are out, and I don't even think it has to be Alafuso, until the guy who has too much power, because right now, Papadimitriou has more power than Alafuso, right? He is the one making more decisions, in my opinion, and I think in a lot of our opinions, than Alafuso. So he is more harmful than Alafuso himself. So I don't think. Listen, like, yeah, Alafuso probably has to leave. I'm not advocating for
No,
him, but
absolutely not. But he's still
the
funding
immediate,
the club.
right, the immediate, a more quick solution would be the guy who's actually being more harmful, which I think is Papadimitriou, and I think a lot of people agree, and I think that's where a lot of fingers are getting pointed from from the comments from people closer to the club. So until that changes, like we said, you're at a lose-lose based on who you're bringing in. Like,
I mean, we joked around about it. We were freaking Cinderella story for how long last summer about Sorry coming in. Could you imagine if they tried to bring someone like him in, even at the start of summer, even right now? The guy would quit before the week is up, I said.
yeah,
To just
Mourinho's
he'd take one
available,
look about this and he'd say, forget. Yeah,
but why
Mourinho
would
wouldn't want to stick around either for longer than a week. He dealt with Turkey, which is much worse than what we're dealing with, and
why? Yeah, yeah. Well, why would you want to come? You just all you have to look is go on the team's Wikipedia and see how many coaches we've had in the past 10 years. Why would you want to come? Okay,
why would anybody though?
Mourinho's he's made the
He's
most
past
money.
it, but
He's
I
made the
mean,
most money out of sackings out of anyone, so maybe maybe he's into that. But
the special one.
yeah, no, but for real, like,
I mean, yeah, it's why would anyone want to come? Because like you said, they don't want a headstrong guy. You get a pushover guy, but how many pushover guys are you going to get that are going to be successful either?
right?
And the pushovers to what? What is? I want to know what is Papadimitriou's resume where it warrants him to be in so much control and have so much power to where he's got nothing to show for it since he's been in that position. Nothing. He'll take credit for bringing in certain players when we had cup wins and stuff, but he only takes credit when it applies and doesn't
Yeah,
take accountability when it
right.
doesn't. But it's like,
Like he wasn't accountable for Alonso.
what was this handpicking of him and what is his resume where it warrants him to just be the almighty in charge of Panathinaikos
Oh,
is
we know
what I want to know.
he was at AEK before, right? And before that, he was at OFI, right? And he had nothing really to show for either. I think
And that's what
he
I'm
was a
saying.
complete failure at AEK. He was there for like what, maybe a year or something.
And that's what I'm kind of getting
He
at
like
or alluding
immediately
to. I
failed over
mean,
there.
we've seen not just coaches, but we've seen just personnel around the league like a fucking Ferris wheel, constant moving, rotating door. Yet somehow this guy, I won't stick to calling any names or insults, but he's outlasted everything. How? How or
Everything.
why? I don't know. It's like as if
Oh,
he had Alafuso's blind or paralyzed and had him agree or sign a
right.
contract that allows him to just
Yeah.
never be fired. It's like
We've joked that
we
he
don't
has like
know.
the dirtiest blackmail on Alafuso. We've joked
He
about it.
must or something, but even for a guy like Alafusos to not be able to get rid of him says a lot, you know?
So the real problem is probably Alafuso does not know how to replace him, right? Like, so because we're let's go back to before Papadimitriou. Before Papadimitriou, the problem was that there was no one making sporting decisions, right? The sporting decisions were up to Alafuso, who is not really involved in this business other than owning the
Right.
team. So that was the problem. So if you take Papadimitriou out, then you're back to that, and you still got to solve the problem of who's going to make the sporting decision. So you either have to, just like a manager, you have to like for like replace the TD. I don't know if Alafusos has somebody else to do it or knows or on I don't know. Like he's not involved in this business. And I mean, again, it's funny to say he's not involved in this business. He owns the fucking team, but he's not involved in the soccer world. So does he literally not know where to find
He
another
just
guy?
He's just a funder, and that's it. And
Yeah,
it's sad that you think of it that way because it's like I don't think it would take rocket science to be able to figure out how to replace Papadimitriou. You know, the sad part is the Greek soccer world has so many resources and tools available, but we've seen it even like with the EPO presidents and stuff that the old players don't want to be involved. They don't want to be around this sport, which is sad because they all love it, but they don't want to be involved when it comes to in their own home country because of all the, not going to say corruption because we know how that goes, but all the chaos that happens. You don't have ever any job security. You don't know where you're going to show up tomorrow. What some of them don't even know what Yipa though they're going to be playing at next season.
yeah.
But the resources are there. It's just they know how people get treated and just they're gonna fucking spend the day at the beach with their cafe and enjoy life and not have to deal with this shit. And you can't blame them at this point.
Other people have come into the club for new positions under Alafuso. Like Zavella came in, right? We don't know who actually hired Zavella. Was it Alafusos? Was it Papadimitriou? But he came in and was given a new job, basically under a new title. Would would Papadimitriou leave and Zavella would basically take his spot? I think Zavella's basically doing pretty similar things to Papadimitriou, who's brought in for, player scouting and stuff like that. I agree. I'm basically agreeing with you. I don't think it's that difficult. Like, obviously, Papadimitriou is completely expendable. He's done nothing to prove that he's not expendable. Yet we're acting like he's completely unexpendable.
He's untouchable at this point.
Yeah.
He's fucking immortal at this point in this club, and that's where we're at because he makes all the decisions ultimately.
But again, if you sack Papadimitriou, which would obviously be a huge plus, you have to not give all the power to one person again, because that is, in my opinion, where a lot of this is going wrong. There has to be a group of people. Other teams have boards that make decisions, right?
Just like any other big
This is
business, that's
company,
how things
yeah.
work. I mean, I'm
This
sure
is not
Alafuzos
rocket.
can relate. All his businesses he has, I'm sure he has board
Yeah,
members that
of course,
he's not
of
at every
course,
meeting and stuff. So that's what I'm saying.
of
It's just
course.
not rocket science. And would it put us in a bigger hole? I think we would probably be in the same spot or improve. You can't really get any lower or worse than this ultimately, unless he
The only
stops
thing
just
that would
cutting
be
checks.
Well, that's the thing. The only thing that would be worse for him is that you hire a board, you have to pay more, you have to cut more checks, so you have to pay more money. But it's for him, it's clearly not worth it. He thinks the job could be done by one person, but we've been proven that the job cannot be done by one person. So the next step is you don't do the one person thing, you do the multiple person thing, the board thing, checks and balances, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
Um,
well, it's not happening, and like we said, we're just two guys from across the world, bitching and moaning, and ultimately we just got to see what's gonna get done. But as of right now, just things don't look great, and we got to look forward to our game in 2 days.
yeah,
Hopefully, we can get something out of it because realistically, I mean, the season we started, like we said, what we're in the same spot with Alonso at the same time this last year. We were able to turn it around and get to second place, but it's a bigger hole. We don't know what anyone's going to look like this season, and just like last season, with the way things are, you got to make sure you just take advantage of every opportunity. Right now, Cup in Europe are, I'd say, a little bit more important than the league right now, just because of the hole we're in. But you lose out on Europe like we did last year and the Cup, then you got to focus on the league. And by the time we were doing that, the league was kind of out of reach, unfortunately. So
like there's no holistic way to put it, because yes, I agree with that, but at the end of the day you also need the league, because the league is dependent on depend rely you rely on the league for European
for
placement,
European
and
placing and stuff,
we
yeah,
don't
absolutely.
we can't afford, like we've done, for all the shit that's happened in the last 3 4 years, we've actually done a decent amount of work in Europe to raise the
Stay afloat.
coefficient and kind of put ourselves in a position year after year to get into Europe. But if even if we miss out on Europe 1 year, that could be hugely
Huge.
detrimental to the outlook of the next few years. Like we need to continue to build the coefficient. So in the qualifying stages, we're not unseeded. We want to become seeded to make our path easier. Because at the end of the day, we're going to be in qualifying almost every year. Very rarely that Greece gets a direct spot. Your
Yeah.
only chance at a direct spot is basically to be the champion and for us to be top, I think 15 or top 10. But anyway, that's another story. Long story short, you're going to be in qualifying every year. You need to raise the coefficient. You want to be seeded so you have easier pass, so you have more direct pass to the league stage, yada, yada, yada. We need to do at least better than fourth in the league for that to continue to happen. Because fourth, you start in Conference League, you don't have a buffer to fall down to. Look at us this year. We started in Champions League, but we had Europa League to fall down to. We had Conference League to fall down to if it needed to come to that. And that's only because we finished
Yep.
second in the league, right? That's only because we finished second in the league.
Absolutely. I mean, but it took a lot for us to get to second last season, and it's just like how many times can you repeat that? I guess is more what I'm getting at. You dig yourself in a hole, you got to push super hard to get yourself out of that hole, and it's like when you have to do that, just with what we're dealing with the quality that we're at and the level of play the Greek league and us, I should say more specifically, are at, is you're not going to be able to focus on Cup, Europe, and League. We just don't have the resources for it, unfortunately. I could be wrong, and I'd love to be proven wrong, but just with the last couple years, it doesn't seem that way.
Yeah.
It's
Anyway,
tough, man.
like you said, Alka, we have a game in 2 days. That's the cup. The cup has been kind of reinvented a little bit, so now it follows the format of Europe's uh, competitions. So instead of a bracket from the start, we have like a league phase, if you want to call it. So we know all our opponents for the league phase. That's Calithea, Kifisia. Sorry, Calithea is match day one. Atromitos is match day two. Kifisia is match day three. And who's this? Kavala?
I
Kavala is
think
match
it
day
was, yeah.
four. Yeah, Kavala's match day four. And two are home, two are away. No reverse legs, and then after that it become based on where you finish in the collective table. Um,
Do you like this
then you
format better?
actually I kind of do.
I
I
agree.
think I think it's a
Takes
little
away the
more
element of
interesting.
people complaining like you got an easier opponent or easier path
Yeah,
type of thing.
yeah, and I think it kind of is just a little more interesting than like playing one game at Atromitos because then they in recent years they had done away with two legs before a certain round of the cup. So I think before like the quarterfinals of the cup, everything was single leg. So
Yeah,
then like sometimes you would have to play like one game at Atromitos, and then like that's just like
that was it.
fucking anything could happen. Like
Right.
um because we obviously like struggle in those kinds of situations. So I, I think it's good. It actually I guess it adds more games in total, but I actually don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's kind of a good thing. It gives more players a chance to play. It encourages deeper squads, which I think in general for the Greek teams to be successful, like in a general sense, I think is actually good. Um,
Right.
and you get also, I mean, this is like kind of a minor thing, but you also kind of get to see opponents that you don't really see often. Like we get to play Kavala, which like again, no one is like super super happy about that, but I think it's just as a fan of the game, I think it's cool to find and play new
Yeah,
opponents.
it gives them more exposure.
Um,
We always want to,
yeah,
promote, all the younger, smaller clubs that sometimes they might not even be around by next season or something. Or
yeah. So I don't actually mind this new format, but yes, that's what we got in 2 days. That's Wednesday, 5:30 Greece local time. Um, that should be at Low Photos because we're home. And then at the weekend we have Olympiacos, which is awesome. That's basically a must win. That's like almost non-negotiable given how the first couple of games have gone because that's home. We're already -5 from the top. Actually, I mean technically more because we have a
Let's
game in
say minus
hand.
7.
Yeah, but we have that game in hand, so it's hard to play math when you have a game in hand. But assuming we win the game in hand, we're -5.
Yeah, I'm doing
So
math. I was
it's a
gonna
must
say, yep.
it's a must win. It's a must win. Which it sucks to put so much pressure on one game so early in the season, but if you don't win that, you fall quite a bit behind. And whether we're talking about the title or second place, which is like we said, important for placement, you can't fall too far behind.
Right,
And I
because
don't,
1 through 3 right now is all they're sitting at 9 points. So I
yeah,
mean, you lose that game, we could be game in hand or not. You could be -10.
yeah.
Going 5 games into the season is just not a hole you want to be in,
So
ultimately. So
one way or another, I mean, there's not much point talking tactics, but one way or another, we have to find a way to win that game against Olympiacos, whoever the manager is, whoever the starting 11 is, um, because yeah, there's a lot of weight on that. That's our next two games in on the FC. Is there anything else that we missed regarding the FC?
I think we talked a little more than what we would have known
Yeah,
or missed or not missed.
yeah. Um, Also, just this just came to me as an afterthought. Even people who are not involved in the club recently came out and said stuff. Basinas, who obviously is a huge club legend, um, had a post on Instagram. Let me see if I can find it. Just to reinforce the point that we had about Juan Car Perez. He posted a picture of himself. And of Sotiris Kyriakos. Εκεί στην ΠΑΕ σας ενοχλεί ότι κάποιοι είναι Παναθηναϊκοί.
I did see that actually. I didn't know it was him that posted. I just saw somebody posted
Yep.
it and didn't really tag anything, but I did see
Ano
that. And
Another one, he posted again a picture of himself. The basically the three main figures that are involved in Kifisia, Leto, Sotiris Kyriakos, and Basinas.
that's the one I saw.
Um, he posted a picture of all of them. Να έχεις πετύχει μια τέτοια νίκη και οι άνθρωποι αυτοί που πηγαίνουν προς τον κόσμο του Παναθηναϊκού να μοιάζουν σαν να ζητούν συγγνώμη που τον πλήγωσαν. They literally went up to the traveling fans and basically said sorry because they beat the team that they love. Those kind of people are who you want in the club and who are explicitly not allowed in the club. And then he continues, αλλά ξέχασα, εδώ δεν θέλουμε ανθρώπους που πονάνε για το τριφύλι, που αγαπάνε την ομάδα. I mean,
Self-explanatory there.
yeah.
Kind of says it all.
So, yeah.
Sad times,
Unfortunately,
man, but
that's yeah. Anyway,
that's what we're with. That's what we're dealing with, and just gotta look onward and upward, and hopefully, just for the sake of just our sanity and the club, just we just start to
yeah.
see some progress. Just take it day by day at this point.
Anyway, that's the lowdown on the FC. Not much BC news. Obviously, the season hasn't started yet. EuroLeague starts on the 30th, so at the end of the month. But right before that, we have this coming weekend, we have the Pavlos Giannakopoulos Tournament, which is going to be in Australia. Our Australian boys are going to cover that next week. They're going to be at the game. Um, I don't have much to say about that. Obviously, it's just a fun weekend. First time it's being held outside of Greece. Really nice to see that they're doing stuff like that. Back-to-back years has been like kind of a special situation because last year it was held in Kalimarmaro, which was a huge success. 40,000 people pulled up to Kalimarmaro outside. I was there, and it was awesome. So it's nice to see that they're doing special things with different skins. Obviously, now they're going abroad for the first time, appealing to obviously a huge part of the diaspora in Australia. And our Australian boys are lucky enough to reap the benefits, and hopefully they keep doing stuff like that in the future. Hopefully it's a success. I'm sure it will be. Um, but yeah, they'll give their take on that next week. Hopefully they have some good things to say about about the FC also. But yeah, that's
Let's
their problem.
hope.
That's not our problem next week.
Not for this week, or at least we'll
Yeah.
table our thoughts at least for the week. We'll have some, but you won't hear it from us at least.
Congrats to the Ethniki in basket for winning the bronze at Eurobasket. Um, it didn't end. I mean, it ended nicely, but it didn't end obviously with a big prize. But it's nice to see there still be a payoff for their work because the team played well for most of the tournament. Obviously, the Turkey game didn't go 100% or didn't go any any way that we wanted it to
It
go.
was a
But
bad game, but despite all that, I'll say, Alex, sorry to interrupt. You saw that all the boys didn't look disappointed, and I
yeah,
say that if you look at, at the end they brought over the five, what do they call them, the all stars of the tournament, where they gave them each a trophy, and you saw Schroeder there, Giannis, they're all taking a picture, smiling, and Sengun just looks miserable because they
yeah,
lost. And it does suck to lose the ultimate game, the ultimate prize, but I say that in a sense of I'm glad I didn't see any of our players moping and with their head down because you're still placing and medaling with for your country, like Giannis said it best. And a lot of these other guys, I look at guys like Slukas and uh, Papa Nicolau, like this might and Ladenzak, this might have been their last go at anything, or you know, they might be retiring from the national team after this because of their age and stuff. And uh, is that the first time Greece has medaled in how long? In Eurobasket, it's
is the
been,
last time 2005 when we won gold?
I was gonna say it's been 20 years, and people complain about Spanulis and stuff, the way they almost lost the game against Finland and the way Turkey went, but at the end, they're just trying to build something different. Medaling for the first time in 20 years is huge. Giannis said it was his biggest accomplishment in his life, and the guy's fucking won a championship and
Yeah,
MVP. And I saw even Spanulis had Diamandidis and Papadimitriou, I think, were at the final game, and they came over and gave him a hug. They were the last time, and I think those three were the last time to medal for Greece. And even they were really proud of Spanulis to be able to just bring that back for the country. Was really good. So that's just my kind of
yeah,
2 cents on it. It wasn't as we expected, like you said, but there's a lot of good to bring from it because we finally had some success. Because last few years we've seen, even with Giannis playing like in FIBA and stuff, just
yeah,
haven't played very well. So I'm
yeah.
still happy and proud, see how they played.
Definitely. And like you said, you gotta start somewhere to build a winning culture, which the FC could definitely take some a bit of that advice. But
They
anyway,
brought in
good.
guys that played the game. Spanulis, you
Yep,
gotta bring in people from the sport that lived it,
yep,
did it, and
yep,
FC. We've said that many times, but
yep.
it is what it is.
Anyway, I think that's all we got. Uh Alki, was fun chatting. Hopefully there's, I guess, better days ahead. Who knows what is around the corner? I don't know. None of us really know what's around the corner, but hopefully there's better days around the corner. Good luck to the team. Good luck to the boys in Australia. Enjoy the weekend. Stay tuned for coverage on that from them, and we'll be back probably in a couple weeks to see what's transpired.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
All right,
Have a good
man.
night,
Great
everyone.
catching up.
Alki, take care.
Take care, everyone.